Hello, I've got the recipe book out. This book it's old. You can tell by the yellowed edges on the pages. When I say old, it's not as old as me. This version of this book was published in 1983. So it is, where are we? It's 35 years old. It doesn't get used very much. I'm not really a recipe follower unless it's something I don't know, or it's something that I know needs precise measurements. So I've been looking at meringues. Gosh, they're easy. Given how easy they are, I'm a little bit surprised at how many times I've failed at making them. But today, I followed the recipe to the letter, almost. So it said 2 egg whites, but I used 2 duck egg whites because it didn't specify, and I prefer duck eggs. Other than that, I have followed it to the letter. And look at these. These are proper meringues. And not only that, they come off the greaseproof paper. They're not sticking. They're not squishy on the outside, but I'm pretty sure they're still soft in the middle, which is how I like them. Look at that. Doesn't that look lovely? Crunch on the outside and slightly gooey in the middle once you've chewed them a bit. Perfect. Wish I had a bit of cream to go with them now, but what I have got is some homemade sorbet and some homemade ice cream, and so we will have those later on with some of that. Really pleased. I'm really pleased. Well, I've come outside because I promised myself I would do this one task out in the garden today, come rain or shine, and that is to lift the last of the leeks from this bed behind me. I'm going to lift them all, take off the outer leaves and the roots, put that into the compost bin, and then take the leeks inside so that I can chop them up and get them into the freezer. Having started that job, I've lifted about half a dozen. The ground is much too heavy and much too wet, and my concern is I'm actually going to damage the soil structure by trying to lift them, because it requires the fork to go down quite deeply, and it's quite clayey soil in this bed, and it's just sticking around the roots, and it is going to damage the soil structure. So I've got a few. It's not how I wanted it to be, and some days I guess it just doesn't work out how we want it to, but so I'm going to stop and not damage the soil anymore. I'll have to find a different job for today. When we moved here 2.5 years ago, the ground out in this field here was almost dead in terms of insect life, certainly in terms of worms. The only insects that we saw on a very regular basis were beetles. You could dig 6 to 8 spades of soil in various different areas across the field before you found any worms at all. I don't mean 6 down, just 6 different places, 6 or 8 different places, and you might find 1 worm. Since we installed the vegetable garden, brought in all the wood chips, started composting ourselves, that's changed, and I've just been spreading out the muckings out from the duck house over one of these beds. I had just dumped it here in a pile during the winter, and just added to it each time I cleared out the ducks. so it's quite mounded up. Spread it out over this bed, and it is just now teeming with worms. It is fabulous. I'm just so delighted at the increase in microorganism activity, in worm activity, in insect activity. It is absolutely wonderful, and together with that, obviously, as the insects and the worms have increased here, so is the bird life that is coming, and so slowly we are rebuilding an ecosystem here. It's very exciting. It's very exciting. So this bed where the parsnips were last year is going to have beans in it this year, and beans like a rich fertile soil that holds a lot of moisture. That's why I put this on here over the winter. As I cleared a space where I'd lifted the parsnips, I then put this on top, and it's just sat there, and you can see it's rich and dark. And oh look, actually I'm going to have to show you this. It's absolutely heaving, fantastic. So I'm really pleased at the richness of the life here. I'm not going to dig this in. I'm going to leave it for the worms to take all this into the ground, and they will do over a period of time. They'll come up, they'll go through it, they'll break it all down, leave lots of fabulous worm castings everywhere, and that will bit by bit improve the soil. What I am going to do though is, knowing I'm going to have beans in here, I'm going to edge this with some marigolds. They are really good for attracting pollinators, and certainly we want the pollinators at the beans to pollinate the bean flowers. So I'm sure I read many years ago that marigolds are really good companion planting for beans, and so that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to just bear in mind that there's going to be poles along the edge of this bed, so I don't want to put my marigolds where the poles are going to go in, and I'm tempted just to stick a few canes in just to remind myself where those poles are likely to be. This bed is either going to have runner beans or Greek gigantes beans in it, and I think I'll put the Greek gigantes in here. And I'm not going to do my usual frame structure for the Greek gigantes because I don't need to be able to pick those on a daily basis. They get left in situ until all the pods are formed, and then in early autumn I strip all the pods off the plants and take the beans out of the centre of the pods, and that's the piece we eat. So I'm just going to do just upright poles in here, or maybe some wigwams, because it really doesn't matter to have the accessibility. But when I do runner beans, I do their poles so they cross over like this, quite low down, and that way as the bean grows up the pole, the beans hang down like this. and they're really easy to access, whereas if you grow in a tripod, they're all hanging down in the middle, and they're less easy to get at. But these Greek gigantes are sturdy plants. They are hefty old plants, and the cane structure that we put in for them needs to be equally sturdy. So I think probably we will put several tripods or wigwam type things in here, or possibly, I'd like to just put single canes going upwards, but the wind is so fierce coming across here, it will actually knock those over. So it does need the firmness either of a wigwam or a tripod, just to stop them blowing over entirely. I'll probably do what I've done in the last couple of years, which is once I've put them up, I then tie baling twine from the cane onto the fence, which is just here, just to try and keep them as upright as possible, and then I link them with baling twine going along, so hopefully that as they get pulled, all the pressure is taken by the fence. didn't really work last year. I ended up having to use guy ropes to try and hold them up, and they still fell over in the wind. But they just got more and more at a jaunty angle till eventually they lay right across the path. It was fine. They were still fine. We still had a fabulous crop from them, so it just meant I had to kind of walk around large beds all the time. Not the end of the world, but I'll do what I can this year to prevent that from happening. So the marigolds, where are they going to come from? Well, actually, they've self-sown themselves everywhere. We have volunteer marigolds aplenty. So I'm over by the water pipe stand, and these are all marigold seedlings. That's a thistle, and this is some sort of speedwell, but there are hundreds. There's probably a couple of hundred seedlings here, which I think is probably more than we need. I'm going to want about 20 to 30 to grow around my beans. Oh, I'm really pleased about this. This is great news. It's been a bit of a bitty day today. I've done some stuff inside, I've tried to do some stuff outside. So I'm starting, it is coming, but it's too wet out here to do much with the soil, which just means I ought to head back inside and find a cup of tea. And so, wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you can join me again tomorrow.